Breaking. Ottawa freezes Alberta oil shipments after Washington's surprise decision. Welcome back to my channel, everyone. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my updates on Canadian news, politics, and energy developments. The biggest question on everyone's mind today is what this sudden development could mean for Canada's energy sector and political landscape. Washington's unexpected policy shift has sent shockwaves through North America's oil markets, and now Ottawa's decision to freeze Alberta's oil shipments marks the beginning of what could be a major standoff between the federal government and Alberta. In this report, we'll break down the background, the key players, the potential fallout, and what Canadians can expect in the coming weeks. Alberta has long been Canada's energy powerhouse. The province's economy is heavily reliant on oil sands production and crude exports. Over the years, tensions have grown between Alberta and Ottawa over issues like pipeline approvals, carbon taxation, and equalization payments. These disagreements have occasionally escalated into political and economic conflicts, but the current situation is unprecedented in its scale and immediacy. This standoff didn't emerge in isolation. Alberta has repeatedly expressed frustration over Ottawa's regulatory and environmental policies, which the province claims restrict economic growth and job creation. Federal decisions have often been met with resistance from provincial leaders who argue that Alberta's resources are being unfairly constrained. Earlier this week, the U.S. administration announced a series of unexpected measures affecting cross-border energy trade. While the specifics are complex, the core of the decision restricts certain oil imports and imposes new tariffs on Canadian energy products. This caught Ottawa and Alberta off guard. The ripple effect of Washington's announcement was immediate. Stock prices for Canadian oil companies fluctuated, pipeline operations faced logistical uncertainty, and political leaders scrambled to respond. It's important to understand that U.S. decisions in energy markets don't just affect trade, they also influence domestic policies in Canada. In response to Washington's surprise announcement, Ottawa has opted to freeze oil shipments from Alberta temporarily. This measure is framed as a precautionary step intended to assess the implications of U.S. policies on Canadian trade commitments and domestic energy security. Federal officials argue that the freeze ensures Canada remains compliant with international trade laws and protects national interests. However, Alberta's government sees this move as heavy-handed and punitive, arguing that Ottawa is unfairly targeting the province for political reasons. Premier Danielle Smith has already issued statements condemning the federal decision and calling for immediate dialogue to resolve the standoff. Alberta is framing Ottawa's freeze as an existential threat to the province's economy. Oil and gas revenues make up a significant portion of Alberta's provincial budget, funding everything from healthcare to infrastructure. Any disruption in shipments could lead to job losses, reduced government revenue, and broader economic uncertainty. Local business leaders and industry associations have joined the chorus, warning that prolonged freezes could jeopardize Canada's energy sector's global competitiveness. Alberta officials are emphasizing that the province has consistently followed federal regulations and that Ottawa's move appears reactive, not proactive. The political stakes are enormous. Alberta has previously flirted with separatist sentiment when federal-provincial tensions escalated, and current developments could reignite those debates. Federal leaders must now balance national unity with economic pragmatism, while Alberta's government is positioning itself as the defender of provincial rights. Observers note that this standoff also has broader implications for Canadian politics. Parties at both provincial and federal levels will likely use this moment to consolidate support, criticize opponents, and outline alternative strategies for energy policy and intergovernmental relations. The freeze isn't just a political issue, it carries significant economic consequences. Oil markets are highly sensitive to supply disruptions, and Canada is a key energy exporter to the United States. Any halt or delay in shipments could affect global crude prices, Canadian refinery operations, and even consumer fuel prices across North America. Economists warn that if the freeze persists, Alberta could face a sharp decline in provincial revenues, while federal coffers could also feel the pinch through reduced tax receipts. The uncertainty may also discourage investment in the Canadian energy sector, delaying new projects and technological innovation. For ordinary Canadians, this development raises questions about energy prices, job security, and the long-term stability of Canada's energy sector. While the freeze is temporary, market reactions could be felt immediately at the pump and in heating costs for households. Experts recommend monitoring federal announcements and Alberta's provincial updates closely. This standoff may evolve quickly, and Canadians should be prepared for rapid policy changes. It's also a reminder of the interconnected nature of energy, politics, and economics in today's world. Decisions in Ottawa or Washington can have immediate local impacts from Vancouver to Toronto to Calgary. Alberta's government has several options in response to Ottawa's freeze. Alberta could argue that the federal government is overstepping its authority and bring the matter to the courts. Diplomatic negotiations. Direct discussions with Ottawa could lead to a compromise on shipments or timelines. Economic countermeasures. In theory, Alberta could consider measures that affect federal revenue streams or interprovincial trade as leverage. Premier Danielle Smith has signaled that the province will pursue all avenues to protect its economic interests, emphasizing that Alberta will not quietly accept policies that threaten its energy sector. Ottawa maintains that its primary concern is ensuring compliance with national and international regulations. Officials emphasize that the freeze is temporary and framed as a precautionary step, not a punitive measure. The federal government is also balancing political optics. On one hand, Ottawa must protect trade relationships with the U.S. On the other, it must avoid alienating Alberta, which is a major economic contributor. The handling of this crisis could define political narratives leading up to future elections, both federally and provincially. Canada is a major player in the global oil market, and any disruption in exports has ramifications beyond North America. Traders, analysts, and policymakers worldwide are watching closely. Potential outcomes include short-term volatility in oil prices, shifts in global supply chains as countries seek alternatives, increased scrutiny of Canadian energy policy by international investors. The freeze also highlights the fragile interdependence between energy policy and geopolitics. Decisions made in Washington or Ottawa can have far-reaching consequences that affect millions of people worldwide. Energy analysts suggest that the standoff may not be resolved quickly. According to industry experts, negotiations could take weeks, and the economic impact could be felt even after shipments resume. Some observers argue that this crisis underscores the importance of developing more resilient energy infrastructure and diversifying Canada's export markets. Political commentators note that the freeze may accelerate conversations about provincial autonomy and federal authority. Alberta's stance is a reminder that resource-rich provinces can wield significant economic and political influence in Canada's federation. Canadians should keep an eye on several key developments. Updates from Ottawa and Alberta regarding the duration of the freeze. Statements from the U.S. administration regarding cross-border energy policies. Market reactions, including oil prices and refinery activity. Potential legal challenges or provincial-federal negotiations, public opinion and political commentary on social media and news outlets. These factors will shape how this standoff unfolds and what long-term impact it may have on Canada's energy sector and political stability. This is a developing story and the situation remains fluid. What's clear is that Ottawa's freeze of Alberta oil shipments is more than a trade or logistical issue. It's a flashpoint in Canada's ongoing debate over energy policy, federal-provincial relations, and Canada's role in global markets. For Alberta, this is a test of provincial resilience and political strategy. For Ottawa, it's a balancing act between compliance, diplomacy, and national unity. And for Canadians, it's a moment to stay informed, aware, and prepared for potential ripple effects in their daily lives. As this story evolves, we will continue to provide updates, analysis, and expert commentary to ensure Canadians understand the full scope of the issue. Stay tuned, stay informed, and as always, assalamu alaikum.